Hello everybody, and welcome back to Going Deeper 2022. I'm glad that you've joined us tonight. And I just had a few announcements, a little housekeeping to take care of, a very brief devotional. Why do you always laugh when I say brief? I don't understand that. At any rate, so we'll start with the announcements, but we're glad that you've joined us. Thank you for viewing. A number of people are picking this up and watching, and it not only is satisfying that you're doing that, but knowing that the information is going out at the appropriate time and in the right places. So thank you. Continue to watch if you would. Just a quick update. Things are still moving very well going forward. A couple of updates. We did get the Articles of Incorporation filed for Honey Creek Church this week, and so we are now an actual living entity, business entity. We do have our employer ID number. The committee that was working on the banking has selected a bank, and they will be opening an account tomorrow. Tonight is Thursday night. Not a very churchy night, but one of the announcements is I'm going to be going out of town for 5 days, and we'll have limited phone contact ability, so our ability to contact on phone. So just wanted to get this little quick message to you before we go. Rio will probably get it ready and send it out on the normal time frame. But I've got packing to do tonight and a few other loose details, so it's going to be short. The moral of the story is, you want shorter sermons, you should send me on more vacations. That's all I can get out of that. So anyway, glad that you're joining us tonight. So the articles are in. The process with the conference is beginning to move now. We're getting some early drafts on the financial piece. Nothing to share yet, but we're seeing the framework and the formulas, and we'll keep you informed on that. Do want to remind you, do pay close attention here. We've been trying to correct an error that is just a stubborn error that won't lend itself to correction very easily, it seems. Still some people confused. There is a meeting at MCL on Saturday, February 5th, from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That's the time we have the room reserved. Starts at 2, it'll end when we're finished. But the idea is to give everybody that's interested in the church, the room will hold 50 plus people, I guess. If you say, well, I don't want to come and eat at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's fine. Come and get a Coke or a coffee, pie, a meal, whatever you want to do. Go through the line, get your food, and then join us in the banquet area. We will give you the most accurate and complete update that we have on information. And then whenever we're finished with that, that's when the end of the meeting will be. Okay, now listen closely. The information went out that it was on Sunday the 6th. That is not correct. If you go on Sunday the 6th, Rhea, would you check that? I think the cord got bumped, and I think it's shining a different direction right now. You'll have to edit that out, I guess. Is it? Well, it pulled the cord. Sorry. So if you go on Sunday the 6th, you may find a very small crowd. You and a few other confused people maybe. So at any rate, be sure and get this. It's Saturday, February 5th, 2 to 5 at MCL on US 31 around Sumter, I believe it is. Sumter. Hope to see you there. Bring your questions. We'll do our best to answer all of them, okay? So things are going well. Happy for that. Nothing to complain about tonight. It just seems like God is in this and moving forward. Continuing conversations with Prince of Peace about our beginning services in March 6th at 11 o'clock. Trying to make the logistics work. I know people have questions about that, and we'll do our best to address all those when we meet. So I think that takes care of our announcements and our housekeeping portion of this. I hope that you're feeling some enthusiasm as this goes forward. I know you're not getting to see all the moving parts that I am, and so maybe your enthusiasm may be a notch or two less, but seriously, this is going. I mean, pieces are just falling in place. Doors are opening. I think we're really on a right path, and really looking forward to see what God may choose to do with us in this moving into new territory, and the changes and how we handle the changes, which is what I want to talk to us about again today. The theme will sound very similar to last week, and it sort of is, but it's from a little bit different approach, something that we're going to have to continuously keep before us, because we're going to be in a place we've never been before. There are not known answers to some of the questions that we have right now. Sometimes the only answer we're going to be able to give is, we don't know. We're going to have to find out. So how do you tolerate that, operating in the dark and not knowing what's going on? Well, Jesus has a little guidance for us here around that. And let me find my place here. It's from Matthew chapter 22. It's a passage of Scripture that you're probably familiar with. I've preached from it multiple times. But Matthew chapter 22, and it begins with verse 34. I put my glasses on so that I don't turn it into another version besides the one it's written in. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. Now you do understand, I hope, that the Sadducees and the Pharisees, they did not care for each other. They were two factions. You could think political parties right now and come up with the same kind of tension. They were in the same religious system, but they saw things drastically differently. And prior to this passage, just immediately before it, they decided to try to trip Jesus up and ask him questions about marriage and the resurrection. Well, the resurrection was one of the issues that they fought most about, those two groups. And so they were trying to trick Jesus into saying something that they could then begin to accuse him of not being true to Scriptures and what have you. But he answered them and basically confounded both groups. What he said, you can go read for yourself, but he handled that very, very well. And then, following that up, when they heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, testing him with this question. Teacher, I find that ironic because I don't think this person in any sense was asking for someone to teach him. But it's that setting of the trap around Jesus. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replied. I would love to know the timing between the question and the response. I think there may have been a moment that was a little awkward, a little uncomfortable. Can't prove it, but I just feel like it was. Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And whenever I read this passage, I always like to insert my own little comment. And it says, and while I'm on a roll, that's my addition. Verse 39 goes on and says, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. I've read a couple different numbers, so I'm not sure which one is really accurate. I've heard 611, I've heard 618 laws existed in the Old Testament law. And the people were concerned about keeping the law, not violating it, and trying to please God. And so with all this confusion of all these moving parts, these 611 or 618 laws, Master, what's the most important one of all? Trying to set a trap for Jesus to identify a less important one. And Jesus again answers with such grace and dignity with this. He says, the first and great commandment is love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. That's a standard that we could all spend the rest of our days striving toward and probably still not achieve. It would keep the most diligent of Christians busy trying to understand and fulfill that great law. And then Jesus said, I know why you're at it. The second is to love your neighbor as yourself. Everything else, that's the framework. Those are the bones on which the rest of the law hangs. Go think about that and work that into your life. And so here we are at a time when we, as Honey Creek Church, like so many times throughout biblical record, Old Testament and New Testament alike, people who are trying to follow God are being led into new territory with a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainties, a lot of fear and anxiety and concern. And it's like one of the Rube Goldberg, if you don't know what that is, look it up, but machines where there's so many moving parts and designed with its complexity. And we wonder how things are going to work out. And, oh, Pastor, what about this? And, oh, Pastor, what about that? And honestly, I can't think through all 611 of those possibilities with any kind of clarity. But I think I can point us back to the advice that Jesus gave when we're overwhelmed by the enormity of the task and the newness and the anxiety and the fearfulness about what tomorrow holds. Jesus pointed them back to what was most important, and that's what I want us to hear again today. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind. A total commitment to God, period. That's number one. If we can work on that, we'll be more gracious than we've ever been before. We'll be more loving and accepting than we've ever been before. And because, you know what, we all see things a little bit differently. Preferences and biases and, all those things. So when we hit those places where we go, well, I didn't understand it that way. Well, that's understandable because this is new territory. We don't have certain answers. But in the midst of all that complexity and all that uncertainty, remember, love the Lord your God. That's the primary key. That is the grace that is going to grease the wheels that gets us to where we need to be as a congregation, a people of faith. And so I just wanted to remind you of that again tonight. And while you're at it, love your neighbor as yourself. I'd love to go into a little side piece of that. I'll just simply tease you with this a little bit. Put an adjective or two in front of neighbor and see what that does to your thinking. You figure that out. You can choose a race, you can choose any difference, a political difference, anything. But love your other neighbor, the person who's other from you, as yourself. That'll give us plenty to work on in the time that we're trying to figure out who we are and how we're going to get there. I'll be away for a little bit and be back with you and hopefully have new and good news to share with you when we get back. Be faithful, continue to do the right things, and I believe God will bless us. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.